Do you ever look at someone and wonder, what is going on inside their head? For many students, the constant pressure to meet high standards can lead to perfectionism, an internal struggle that goes unnoticed. Good day, fellow Lasallians. We are Group 3 Inside Out from ABM 11F. And in this video, we will be exploring the concept of perfectionism. Perfectionism is not inherently bad, as it's often associated with hard work and success. However, it can be mentally and physically draining when we set unrealistically high standards. Through this video, we aim to help viewers understand perfectionism, how it affects students like us, and how we can manage it in healthier ways.
For this video, we interviewed grade 11 students from different strands to better understand what Lasallians think of perfectionism.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Karon Yao, ABM 11A.
I'm Alvin Lim from ABM 11F.
I'm Miko Lee from ABM 11F.
Maxine D of Humes 11C.
I'm Tia Lau of ABM 11J.
I'm Harvey Chua from STEM 11A.
I'm Jarvis Wang in ABM 11A.
My name is Tyler Uy and I'm from ABM 11H.
I am Away Q from ABM 11G.
I'm Zain Su from SPT 11B.
I'm Precious Atera. I'm from the Arts and Design track.
Now here's our first question. When you hear the word perfectionism, what comes to your mind?
Doing everything you can to make your work the exact same way you planned it out to be.
Somebody who's trying to stand out.
For me, it's someone trying to be perfect in every way.
It's a characteristic, and it's usually linked with being flawless.
Being consistently good at something.
I think perfectionism is doing everything perfect. No mistakes, no errors. Everything is the best quality it can be.
Trying to be perfect and never feeling satisfied.
When I hear perfectionism, I think of someone who sets very high standards and someone who doesn't want to make mistakes.
Being perfectionist.
When I hear the word perfectionism, I think of someone who always wants everything to be perfect. For me, perfectionism can be both positive and negative. It can push someone to do their best, but it can also create too much pressure.
Think of someone who always wants everything to be perfect.
When do you usually feel stressed or a strong pressure to be perfect?
During studying or creating final outputs, because that's where most of the grades come from.
When there's a test.
When my parents look at my grades.
In school or social events.
In any academic work, projects, tests, because there's always an impression that you have to be a certain level to be considered good.
Really in my grade, because I find my academics really important.
During exams, deadlines, and presentations.
I usually feel stressed during exams or big projects when I know it will affect my grade.
When there are a lot of homeworks.
I usually feel stressed and pressured to be perfect during exams, presentations, or important school projects.
I feel pressured usually when it's a project for school.
Now, how does that pressure usually affect you? Do you feel motivated, stressed, or do you procrastinate?
I will tend to feel stressed and procrastinate because I will spend a lot of time thinking of what I have to do instead of actually doing it because I want it to be perfect.
All of the above.
All of the above. My mental goes crazy.
Get scared, but not that much.
It makes me very stressed and sometimes very afraid.
Sometimes it motivates me to fight back, to prove myself. But sometimes it also makes me procrastinate because I'm too lazy to do anything and I don't care anymore.
I obviously sometimes feel a little stressed, because we all have a lot of work. So fear of failure, on the other hand, obviously we're all afraid to fail, but we have to keep going even if we don't always succeed.
Sometimes it motivates me, but mostly stresses me out. I also procrastinate because I usually overthink.
The pressure usually makes me feel stressed.
The pressure sometimes make me feel motivated, but sometimes make me feel stressed.
It's really a mix of emotions most of the time. It drives me better to do better, but I'm personally the type of person who thinks a lot or overthinks a lot, and that motivation can turn into something like being afraid of failing or being overall stressed about my emotions.
After listening to their answers, we can already notice some similarities. When most people think or hear the word perfectionism, they think about wanting everything to be flawless, no mistakes, setting very high standards, or feeling pressure to meet expectations. They even mentioned that it can be both motivating and stressful at the same time. Their responses show that perfectionism is something many students experience, especially in academic environments like in big schools such as the Lasalle University. So, what is perfectionism? Perfectionism is not just about wanting good grades or wanting to succeed. It becomes a problem when a person's standards start to define their self worth. In simpler words, it's a tendency to believe that making mistakes means you as a person are a failure. Instead of thinking, okay, I can improve next time, the thought becomes, I'm not good enough, even when they have already achieved a lot. And when that mindset keeps happening over and over again, it can become mentally and emotionally draining. However, perfectionism isn't always negative. It's important to know that psychologists often describe two main forms of perfectionism. The first one we have is adaptive perfectionism, the healthier kind. People with adaptive perfectionism set high standards for themselves and work hard to achieve their goals. However, they are still able to accept mistakes and view them as opportunities to improve and learn. Basically, you're driven, but not so much to the point that you're self destructing. On the other hand, maladaptive perfectionism is more on the harmful scale. This happens when standards become unrealistic or impossible to reach. Instead of it being motivating, the pressure to be perfect may create anxiety, fear of failure, and constant self criticism. Even when they succeed, they may still feel like their efforts were not enough. That's why some of the students we interviewed said that perfectionism can be both positive and negative.
So, how does it start? For some of us, it started with how we were raised, the expectations set at a young age. For others, it's the competitive nature of being around high achieving students or constantly seeing everyone's accomplishments on social media. However, most of the time, it's not just one of these things, it's multiple, or even all of them at once. So we know what perfectionism is and where it comes from. But how do students actually deal with it?
Cope with these feelings?
Playing with friends.
Playing games.
Wow.
Talk with friends or take a nap.
Taking some time off, relaxing, taking a break, playing games.
I talk to my friends, hang out with them on occasions, take a break for myself, some me time.
Talking to friends, taking breaks, and playing games.
I most oftenly lay down on bed and scroll through TikTok and Instagram Reels.
I usually talk to my friends or play some games or watch some videos.
To cope with these feelings, I usually take a break, play games, and sleep.
I usually talk with my friends and my family. Like I ask for their advice. Other than that, I also like to just take a break from gadgets since the art that I focus on is graphic designing. It involves like a lot of technology and gadgets, and I like to just relax my brain first, like do hobbies.
Do you think perfectionism helps us grow or does it harm our mental health more?
I think a little bit of both because it will help you get better because next time you're gonna know what to do in certain scenarios, but it also will harm you because if you don't become perfect, then that's like gonna, yeah.
Depends on the person, but personally, I think perfectionism doesn't really affect anybody.
For me, it harms the mental health.
I believe harms our mental health more. It restricts our growth and what we can really do.
Personally, I don't think we should always be striving for perfectionism because it can be harmful to mental health. Like you're trying to always be somebody who you could and or could not be.
I mean, I think it can do both mostly because it does helps us grow. It pushes us to be our best version, but at the same time leads to fatigue, like stress, and also burnout. I think it's because some people don't know like when to stop sometimes, or like when to accept the fact that not everything will be perfect or not everything can be perfect.
It does help a little, but it also harms mental health more if it becomes too much. It's because it can create constant pressure, anxiety, and fear of failure.
I think it helps us grow more because it builds discipline and helps us improve ourselves.
I think it sometimes hurts your mental health, but it also helps you grow, making it stronger.
I think perfectionism can help us grow in a certain way if it's balanced.
I see it as something both positive and negative. Positive because it pushes someone to do their best, but this can also evolve into something negative as well when the standards become like too fixated into something unrealistic.
You know, a lot of what is being described actually follows a very specific pattern. It's called the cognitive triangle. The cognitive triangle, as such, is made out of 3 points: thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. They're all connected, and they always feed back into each other, creating a loop or a cycle. How it works is it starts with a thought, something like this has to be perfect or it's not good enough. Kieran describes it, spending so much time just thinking about what to do than doing it because he wanted it to be flawless. That thought then produces an emotion. That emotion is making them not do it. Jarvis said, perfectionism mostly stresses him out. Precious that said that same drive to do well can turn into fear of failing. Neelan said he used to feel discouraged when others could outdo him in certain things. And those emotions pushes you into a behavior. Some of them said that they cope by taking breaks, playing games, and taking some time off to talk with friends. But others describe procrastinating, overthinking, and shutting down entirely as the other way of dealing with it. Eventually, both of it will exhaust yourself and start doubting whenever you can do it at all or you rush through it and walk away feeling like you could have done better. And that whole thing starts over and repeats over and over and over and over again, just like how it is from the cognitive triangle. Because that emotion feeds into all your other thoughts and it just keeps on cycling and cycling. A study that could have helped this is by from the American Psychological Association, specifically the relationship between perfectionism with the symptoms of depression, anxiety, and OCD. It had over 113,000 participants that found strong links with maladaptive perfectionism and anxiety, depression, and obsessive compulsive symptoms. Understanding this is the first step to breaking that cycle. The cognitive triangle and perfectionism builds.
A lot of our interviews describe circles back to how they see themselves. Self-concept has three parts: your self-image, your ideal self, and your self-esteem. When perfectionism takes over, those three start aligning with each other. Theo said it best: you're always trying to be somebody you might not be, meaning your self-image and your ideal self constantly drift apart while your self-esteem slowly declines. And it doesn't stop there. Perfectionism affects you physically and socially and psychologically. Maxine said it, perfectionism restricts your growth more than it helps. Dylan said it, taking it too far and starts affecting how you view other people and life itself. For Jarvis, it was constant pressure, anxiety, and fear of failing. The dual continuum model tells us that mental health and mental illness aren't opposites. You can be struggling while also functioning. You can look completely fine on the outside and still not be okay on the inside. And when perfectionism is involved, that's more
common than people think. Research shows that when students understand exactly what they're experiencing, things improve. Managing perfectionism is about lowering your standard. It's about knowing when those standards stop pushing you forward. Setting realistic goals, practicing self-compassion, focusing on the effort rather than the outcome, learning to sit with imperfectionism without letting it define you. That's what makes perfectionism manageable.
Perfectionism is something that many of us live with, and often more than not, we don't even realize it. It can help us aim higher and achieve more, but when it gets too much, it can actually weigh us down instead. Understanding where that pressure comes from is the first step to managing it. Because growth doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from learning, improving, and making mistakes along the way. And sometimes, the best advice comes from the people around us, because they live with it too.
Lastly, what advice would you give to fellow students who struggle with perfectionism?
Just don't overthink it. You do your best work when you don't think about it.
You feel you will still learn something.
Go with the flow, you know what I mean? Don't restrict yourself to your idea of perfect.
Just be yourself and don't be disappointed with yourself.
You have to accept that things are the way they are. It is what it is. Obviously, you can try to change it, but sometimes it's better to just give in.
Just do your best. Not everything has to be perfect. Progress is better than perfection.
An advice I would give is to take breaks and don't wear yourself out.
Try harder.
I would suggest stop being too hard on themselves, focus on their progress more than perfectionism, and remember that mistakes are a part of learning, which helps us grow even more.
I think something that's really important to keep in mind is that it's okay to not be perfect. Like even I struggle to keep that mindset, but you always have to think that everything is not perfect and that it's okay to have flaws, and also to just have like a realistic mindset, like to not push yourself too hard, and to remember that mistakes are part of the learning progress.